Welcome back, everybody, and a happy new year to my viewers. As I had shown you in a previous video, was this nice rebuild kit. Called basically it's a Browning A5 rebuild kit for the Magnum 20, which is what I have in front of me today. This is a friend of mine. He's having issues with it cycling correctly. So this portion of the video is going to be focused on just the teardown to get to the pieces that you need to for proper cleaning. I would imagine this has probably never been fully disassembled and cleaned. So what this part of this video series, I guess is probably going to be probably 3 parts maybe, is going to be focused on tearing this down. Then I'm going to clean it all. Then I'm going to basically repair it by replacing all the springs that you see here in this kit. And we're going to see if that makes a difference on the issues that he's facing with this one cycling correctly. Now, Brownells has a very extensive video series on this, which I will be posting a link down in the description to that. It's highly informative, very helpful. It's how I figured out how to take this apart, and still this may not go really smoothly as planned, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock this to the rear, and I'm going to try to do this on camera, but I'm going to try to hold this barrel in place. Actually, this is not going to work out nearly as well as I had expected. Actually, you're just not going to see it on camera, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and place the butt of the shotgun on the table. I'm going to press down on this barrel while unscrewing this nut here that's on the end of the magazine. So I'm going to do that really quick so we can get to the rest of this, so we can take a good look at what the condition is under, well, just basically inside of the shotgun. I would imagine it's probably quite dirty. This gentleman loves to bird hunt. And I imagine he's probably never completely torn it down and cleaned it. As you can tell, there's quite a bit of surface rust on this barrel. But he loves this shotgun. As you will notice, I don't even have all my pieces here. Some of those have been lost. It's one of the reasons for doing the teardown on this, to replace these springs, as well as these friction rings and all this good stuff. So we're gonna basically hold back on our bolt, press this release down, and ride that bolt forward. And now we're gonna start with the disassembly. So as you have noticed in the Brownells video, they have a very nice Browning, I forget what they call the screw sets, or the screwdriver sets. They call it like a fine blade or pin blade or something like that. But anyway, I have just a simple Husky screwdriver set, and believe it or not, I actually do have some very thin screwdriver bits with which to take this apart. But we're going to start with these 2 stock screws here. You've got basically a little keeper screw, and then you got your main screw that really holds the stock in place. And I'm going to start by removing this little lock screw. Now, these were a little bit loose. I already checked them, so I'm not overly concerned with any issues here. I'm going to remove that screw. I'm going to remove this back one, which is considerably larger and longer. And like I said, if you guys run into any issues, make sure you go out and reference Brownells series on this. So with those 2 screws removed there, now you can remove this buttstock. And sometimes it's going to take a good deal of force, and sometimes you can just pull it right off, like what I'm doing here. Immediately you will notice that this one is quite gunky. Now, I'm going to set our buttstock aside. Well, I'm going to try to. Space is at a premium on the table here. I believe this is the action spring. You need to be very careful with this. If you'll notice, there is a pin back here that holds this plug in place and holds the spring in place. So when you drive this pin out, you better have good pressure on this or it's going to go shooting across the room. You certainly don't want that to happen. I've already covered up my pin back, or my punch back here. So I'm going to press in on this. I'm just going to push that pin through. You see it falls out quite easily. And we're going to slowly let the pressure off the spring. So as you see, it's a very long spring. You can see this one is quite gunky. It's very, very nasty. It needs a lot of cleanup, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing this video, to tear this thing down. The next thing we're going to start with is we're going to remove our trigger assembly. We're going to start with our lock screws, and then we're going to remove the larger screws, and then this should drop right out the bottom. So that's what I'm going to start with here. We're going to remove those lock screws. Now these are a little bit tighter, what I've noticed, than the other ones. Like I said, I don't know if he's ever actually had this gun apart, but I would venture to say, knowing him personally, probably not. There's a fair amount of gunk in these screw heads that I just noticed. So I would imagine he probably just oils this thing a lot. Cleans it occasionally, but not like a deep clean, and then just takes it right back out to do his bird hunting. The screw is being quite troublesome. I'm guessing this is threaded on both sides. Oh, there's just some tension on it. Okay. You can see that's a pretty long screw right there. See the level of gunkiness there. It's quite a bit. You'll notice that this is actually already starting to want to come out. So I'm just kind of holding a little bit of pressure on it while I get this rear screw out. We're going to find out really quickly if these are the same size. I mean, I really don't know. I've never had this apart. I would assume that they are. No, they're not. So those are different size screws, but just to show you quickly, this whole trigger assembly should come right out the bottom. Wow. You guys can see the level of gunkiness. There's even like, well, some little pieces of like blooms or flowers or field grass or I don't know, something in there. Whew, this thing is very nasty. Needs to be cleaned well. But that's what we're here for. That's what we're going to do. Let me set these screws aside in the order in which I removed them so I do not forget. Alright, so let's see. Where are we at? Trying to figure out where to go next with this. So let's see. If I'm not mistaken, I need to remove these two screws next to remove this. I apologize for not knowing all the terms. I just know kind of what needs to come out here, and that's what we're going to remove. In the Brownells video, you'll notice it's not. This one isn't quite exactly like the one they have. This one's appears to be slightly newer, but still a very old A5. So we're going to remove that keeper, or that lock screw, as well as that large screw, and this piece should then come out. It is a two-piece. Oh, I'm not very smart. I forgot the screws on the other side. So I didn't come all the way out. My apologies there. Don't profess to know everything. I just know enough to be dangerous. Put that over here on this side. I believe these should be identical. We're gonna find out shortly. If it's like I suspect, yeah, those are identical. Okay. So now we should be able to remove the rest of this follower here. I guess that's the follower. I mean, you guys can tell this thing is extremely dirty. Alright, so I've got those pieces out. Now, to the best of my knowledge, what's left here is to drive that pin right below the right below that bolt handle out. And if I remember correctly, you drive it left to right. So I have my punch here. We're going to insert after you get it lined up. Make sure I got that lined up. And I'm going to drive that out. It's best if you have like a a block to disassemble this on. I don't, so I'm making do with what I got. And you can see, should be able to see that pin should start to come out. You guys can see it's starting to come out there. So we're going to drive that out. I don't think I have a long enough punch, but it did pull out, so that's a plus. And now I should be able so I can do this right. So what I've done is I've lifted this up, I pulled this bolt handle all the way to the rear, and now I should be able to push this bolt out through the front. See that? And now this piece comes right out as well. So now you're left with essentially just the body of the receiver, as well as your plunger for your magazine, your magazine tube, your spring inside of here, and your magazine tube. So you can see that this is extremely gunked up in here. It needs a very thorough cleaning, which is what I fully intend to do off camera. I'm definitely not going to bore you with all those details, but there you have it. I guess it took me about 10 minutes or so, maybe a little bit more, to completely, well, not completely, but essentially strip this down to the major components. We're going to clean everything up off camera, get it oiled up, then I'm going to come back and do part 2 of this and show you the spring repairs that I'm going to do. So what you have in here is, just to show you one thing real quick, and this is something I noticed right off the bat when I got this rebuild kit in. That main recoil spring, if you'll notice, is a decent amount shorter, the old one. So I mean, I'd say it probably shortened by 1/4 to 1/2 inch that it compressed. I'm not really sure. That's what it looks like to me. That could play a little bit of a role in it. And if you look at that main recoil spring, that sits back there in your stock, now it's probably a good 1/2 inch shorter than what it used to be. That's a brand new spring, and then of course you've got your magazine tube spring, and then all your friction rings and pieces for shooting your different calibers, your different loads. They're all in here because he was missing a few of those. So I'm going to get this cleaned up very well as I can. Get all this gunk out of here, get it nice and lubed up, And then we're going to come back and I'm going to basically replace those springs, and I'm going to show you the reassembly of it, and we're going to find out whether or not this repair is going to help with the cycling issue that he's experiencing on the shotgun. I'm really hoping it will, but you know, we'll find out. So thanks for tuning in, and until next time, appreciate my subscribers, my viewers, everybody that comments, you know, everybody that likes, shares this video. Like I said, part 2 is I'm going to come back after I've cleaned this up, after I've oiled it up really well, and do the repair slash reassembly of it, because as you can see, we're missing pieces here. As you can see, these springs have compressed over the years, and there is just a lot of cleanup that needs to be done here. So that's going to be part 2 of this video. So until next time, thanks for watching, guys. Once again, Happy New Year, and basically have a great day.